Welcome to another Real Talk Thursday with the Mulholland and Ross Group. Why don't we go around and introduce ourselves really quick? I'm Davis Mulholland, one of the sales representatives with Mulholland Ross Group. Or if you want to,
I'm Aura Ross. Yeah.
Jack Ross.
I'm Jordan Rosenzweig, Director of Operations and Sales Rep as well.
Excellent.
All right, great.
We're all excited about the graph.
Yes, look at this guy. We're just missing Lord Rhodes, who's busy with a few showings this afternoon, because as you can see, things are definitely picking up in the Toronto real estate market. We're going to quickly, just to give you a breakdown of how this is going to go, as always, we're going to just quickly go over what's been happening the last few weeks in the real estate market. And then we've gotten a few of the same questions. So we're going to focus on that to begin with. And that question regards when moving, should we buy or sell first, especially in this market? And then after that, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to turn off your mic and ask away, or send it through the text box that you'll find underneath. So again, if you have any questions at all, now's your time to ask away, and we'd be happy to answer any and all questions you might have. Okay, so Jordan, if you want to go into the graph.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that the average price for all home types sold in the city of Toronto. To give you an idea, the black line is 2020. So even with that, somewhat larger dip, when the pandemic hit and the state of emergency was declared, you can see that we're way back on the way up here, pretty much to where we were into March. So we've kind of recovered as a whole on the city, of course. Each area is different, each housing type is different, but this gives you an idea of how people are spending money and how transactions are happening in the city of Toronto.
And this is the city of Toronto 416, yes. Like property.
Yes.
All home types, right?
All home types, all price points for the whole city of Toronto 416. Yeah. The nice thing to notice though is that we're still above 2018, 2019. We dipped below 2019 briefly in April, but we're on an upward trajectory, which is nice to see. Yeah, that's what I have for that.
Yeah, I'll just add actually, sorry, I was just looking at something else. I'll just add in here, we always feel that lag, right? So when we were locked down in March, it actually happened here, but people were mid-active, right? They were already buying, showing, making offers and stuff. So we felt that little bit down, and then we felt it when we were all in lockdown. But again, because there's a bit of a lag, if we're sitting here at May, and we're already in June, I mean, we're seeing that come up, right? Are we not feeling that out there as we're showing homes?
Yeah, oh, definitely. I mean, just even looking at our own listings, right? The number of showings booked on them, the number of offers that we have seen, right?
Yeah.
So for sure, yeah, we're definitely feeling it.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Now we're definitely feeling some different patterns across the city of Toronto. I know Jordan's kind of looking at, you're right downtown sometimes. Davis, you're looking luxury midtown. Jack, you've got luxury midtown. We've got a couple of builders looking for lots that they can build on. And all of these markets are different. Our first time buyers on the Danforth, they're in bidding wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny to see, especially I'm running around with a few people that are the lockdown and the actual pandemic actually perpetuated their need to get a larger space, and actually I think pushed them to realize that after being in their homes for that long, to I need more space, and so it's interesting to see that actually increases the demand too.
Yeah. And I was talking to someone today, and they said they felt a little more job security now, only because they did get through this, that they're kind of comfortable going forward. So I think, the other thing that happens though is, like we always talk about on the show, forget the market. People have babies, they want more space. People pass away, homes get sold, divorces, marriages, all these things happen that cause people to move. But for kind of 2.5 months, we couldn't. I mean, we had a few situations where we weren't sure if someone was actually going to get the moving truck, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
would they even physically be able to get into a condo building, for example? So we might be seeing that, you know, I sent out a newsletter this week and it was titled "Is Summer the New Spring?" And that's because what we're feeling now is that pent up movement that would have happened in spring. It's going to happen anyway, again, for all those reasons. So we're going to feel that this summer, which means we don't get as much time off this summer, guys, but we're busy, right? I mean, it's been a busy couple of weeks.
Yeah, it definitely has. It'll be interesting to see, you know, as the city starts to open up a little bit more now. It'll be interesting to see what effect that has, and you know, the buyers are getting really comfortable with, it seems, you know, the virtual showings and vetting properties before going to check. Okay, instead of seeing 10, we're seeing 2 that we really like that transition. It happened pretty quickly. People got comfortable with the technology a lot quicker than I think a lot of us expected. And so that was pretty cool to watch. And now people are just taking precautions and, you know, shopping. They're back to the house hunt.
I think the general attitude out there as well, for anyone who's concerned about doing anything right now with the virus still out, is we are seeing people being very careful, respectful, not crazy scared, but just being careful. And our sellers are comfortable people going in, and you know, we're providing some safety options for them as well. But we're definitely seeing just more homes come on the market. Our buyers are more active, other agents' buyers are more active. This is starting to feel very normal to me.
Mm-hmm.
Other than I'm wearing a big colored mask most of my time when I'm out. But
Yeah.
You're the designer mask type. Got
right.
The good one.
So, but it is interesting that if things are feeling more normal and things are bouncing back. So I anticipate, I don't know, well, you know, you can check in with us again in 4 weeks, what that line does, but I have a feeling we're going to see it go up.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. So on that note, we wanted to talk today, like we are talking to, maybe we can stop the share screen for just a minute. We're talking to a lot of people, like we just said, who are trying to buy and sell in this market. And we get a lot of news and a lot of advice from mortgage brokers and lawyers and everything about the first time buyer. That we all hear about the first time buyer. But if you own a house, excuse me, you own a house, you have a mortgage, and now you want to make a move and you got to buy something. How are you going to do it? Are you going to buy first and then run back and sell your house and hope it sells in time? Or are you going to sell first and then look hard for your next house and hope something comes up that makes you really excited that will come up in the same time frame that your home will close?
Big questions.
Yeah.
Big questions. Biggest questions we get asked, right? These are the questions when people call us in. It's like, this is what I want to do. Now, how do I do it? And I wish I could give you one answer right here that's going to solve everyone's problems, but there is no one answer. There is no one answer fits all, because you need to know what you're selling and how fast those homes sell. Excuse me. Or you need to know what you're buying, and does what you want actually come up on the market often enough that if you sold your home, you'd be pretty confident knowing you could go buy something. So when we see people selling a townhouse a condo, for example, to go into a large townhouse complex, and every month 3 or 4 of these townhouses sell, pretty confident we'll find one when the time comes. But it's our clients that are looking for the custom homes. We've got people looking for really special finds. They're not going to, you know, if you already live in a house, chances are you're not going to just up and move for the sake of moving. You're going to move when you find the one that makes you want to move, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it can be very tricky. And our biggest goal is to never let someone get stuck with 2 homes they don't want, or no home, homeless.
Yeah. So it sounds like the big things to keep in mind are, what you're selling and what you're buying, and also you got to focus on the buying demographic of your home, know how quickly it would sell, days on market. Also, a really important thing I know that we talk about is the condition of the market, right? If the market was, we were feeling downward pressure, and you were actually feeling a downward pressure in prices, you would definitely want to sell first to make sure, because if you were to buy and a few weeks later it sells at a lesser price. So the condition of the market, and I guess the trajectory of the prices are definitely a very important thing to keep in mind.
Huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge. Because if we go in and tell somebody right now that their house is worth $1 million, and they're in a neighborhood where things aren't popping off the shelf too quickly, and suddenly they find their dream home, but it's 4 weeks from now or 6 weeks from now. It's not today, the same day I told them their house was worth $1 million, right? Because gosh, that would be great.
Yeah.
4 weeks. At that moment, in today's market, at that moment, you've got to look back. What is my home realistically worth? At that moment, did it go back down to 950, or are we actually up $1,050,000? It's so important. We take a huge, I think our team, we take a lot of care in making sure, again, that our clients' wealth isn't at risk. I mean, if you buy a house and you can't sell your house, I've watched it happen. It's horrible. You're into B lenders to finance that thing. But those are really high interest rates. Or you say, oh, I can't close, and now you're in a lawsuit because the seller there had a plan and there's a deposit on the table. But don't think that just because you put $20,000 deposit down, you're going to lose it. They can sue you for losses. And so if you had bought somebody's house for $1 million and then said, I don't want to buy it, and they have to turn around and sell it for 800 because the market dipped, there's potential for a lawsuit. And really, for the last 2-3 years, we've watched it happen all over our city because people, after that 2017 peak, some buyers didn't close, right? So, our goal is always to figure out, what is it you're looking for? How often does it come up? What is it you're selling? How quickly will it sell? And then the big one is, what's your realistic value of your home to get it sold in time to close the new one, right?
Yeah, you have to be bang on with that number, because if you're not realistic about it, I mean, you're wasting valuable time. Your house might sell for even less the longer that you sit on market. You really have to make sure that your time is of the essence and that you're priced well in the market. Yeah. It has to be priced well.
Yeah, and if you buy first, now please know I'm talking about people who buy first and need the funds from their existing home. If you've got other investments that can cover off the purchase, don't worry about it. You're good. Buy first. But if you actually need the funds, then it can become really tricky. And I know a lot of people say to us, it's okay, my bank said I can bridge the loan. And it's important to note that most banks, again, always check with yours, or we have mortgage brokers we'd happily refer. Most banks will say, yes, I'll bridge you as long as you have that firm offer on your existing home. We'll bridge you 30, maybe 60 days.
Yeah, house is sold firm, no conditions. Then they'll talk.
Yeah, show us that offer. We'll now extend you more financing. So I'm going to just try sharing something with you. Let me just see. Sorry. Where are we? Here we go. Let's just try this. Oh, I have lots of stuff open today. So I want to show you, this is just an example of when we go into our MLS. Now we're talking about the Toronto Real Estate Board's agents proprietary database, the MLS, not MLS.ca. We can pull things up like this. So this is an example of me going into Willowdale West and West Lansing in the Young Shepherd area. And I looked at all home types of all detached homes. And I went back, I believe, here till March 1st. So this is, I want to just walk you through this. So 72 attempts. Now, what does that mean?
A lot of people didn't sell their home.
That's right. Now, I have to tell you, in the 72, we may have AB 123 Main Street listed their home, decided maybe we're a little high in price, took it off the market, put it back on the market. Now that becomes a second listing. So we're not counting addresses, we're actually counting attempts, right? These are all the addresses, and I'm not going to go into the details of the address. I thought the stats look pretty neat. So the average list price, look at the average list price at 1.6. Average original price, we'll come back to that. Here's our average sold price. Now it says here that the average home that's sold on an average of 100%. So you'd look at these numbers and go, well, that doesn't make sense. And it's because of, these are the average asking. When something sells, it's selling bang on. So if you're pricing your home right, you're probably getting, you know, on average 100 means a few went under and a few went over, and we've averaged out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're
Close
not
to full asking.
pretty good. And so then we talk about the median price, pretty close, a little lower. Median price is the point of which half the homes sold over, half the homes sold under. Our low is 1,260, our high 1,948. Now that is a massive range. We've got a massive range of types of homes in here, which is why we always tell you to please call us and we will give you an accurate assessment. Don't use averages, but we're trying to show you a pattern. Look at the high. Somebody sold for 140% over asking. So they priced it real low and got the over asking, but there's your low, 83. This is interesting, 44 days on average to sell a house. So these are the things we're going to look at when someone says, well, I really want to sell a home in this area and I want to go buy, you know, on the Danforth. Okay, and I've got a Danforth one here. So this is just interesting. Again, there's your high, 224, low, 1 day. We've got stuff selling 1 day.
And this is since March 1st, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 23 sales. So we're sitting, what's that work out to? Who's got the math? Is that about 30%? A third, 33% or so of the homes?
Just over a third, I think.
Yeah. Then we look at the Danforth, 107 attempts, 57 sales. Look at the average price sitting way, 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 way closer to the original price. Now, here's what we, look at this, the difference, 110%. We are seeing a lot of listings come in undervalued downtown, and they're doing the offer dates.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm seeing a lot of it, and the offer dates are 2 weeks out. Buyers are still showing up. They can't complain if they still show up. Look at this, 790 days on the market.
Oh, poor.
Sorry, we'll have to pull that one up
Wow.
and share it next week.
That's one of the bigger numbers I've ever seen.
Determined, eh? So much determination there.
I wonder what it was. 110% though, that's pretty cool. So here's the thing. If you were selling your home in the Willowdale West area and buying a home in the Danforth area, what might you, would be a tough one, I'll be honest. This would be a tough one to help someone with, because depending on their price point on the buy, it might be that they're in bidding wars and they might not get the first one they find. It might be a tough buy.
Yeah. And it depends on the buyer too. Like if they're really flexible and they're like, you know what, I just want to be in the area. It's not so much about the house. We're pretty simple. We just need 2 bedrooms. It's okay. You know, yeah, you're going to compete for it. But, you know, the 44 days on market, was it 44 there for West Lansing? I mean, you're definitely going to be keeping an eye on that and taking that into consideration the entire time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's it. And this would be the time when you'd have to have the hard conversation that nobody likes to have. And I know you guys wince when I have it in front of sellers, and that is, what is the worst case scenario?
Yeah,
but
you gotta be real.
I think we got to be real. And especially now, and especially when people are talking about selling and buying, that's a lot of money. And, you know, the question is, what accountability does a realtor have to a homeowner when they're giving these numbers out? And I know we as a team, like, we really rarely find our client, like, we're so careful, right? Because we don't, you know, one of the questions we actually ask a seller who's going through this process is, you know, if these numbers are out, because we can't guarantee anything, right? If these numbers are out by say 50 to 100,000, does it still work for you if we're in that range? And, you know, someone can say yes. And then we've got other clients that say, if we are more than 26,000 out, like I've drilled this down to the penny. I got 26,000 flexibility. That is it. Well, that's a different client. And then we have to think about how are we going to do this? Because we cannot risk that spread being higher, that you have to sell first.
Now, what do you think about, I mean, a long time ago, you saw this, I mean, not that long ago, but you used to see this a lot more often, the sale conditional, purchase conditional on the sale of their home. Do you think that's coming back? Do you see that coming back? And it's not that long ago.
No, but I mean, it wasn't that long ago, because if you remember, we did it last year on a property. There was a house that had been sitting on the market for a while, remember? And we made an offer, and we asked for, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks, and we hustled and we got it done. And for those buyers, it was the only physical way they were going to do it. They weren't going to sell their home unless they knew they had it, and they weren't going to buy that home. They couldn't physically. It was a mortgage issue, you know. So we had to make sure the numbers worked. But going back, and I think in parts, in the slower parts of the GTA, we'll see it happening. And as a realtor on the buy side, I love it. On the list side, not so much. But on the buy side, I love knowing I can sleep at night. We're protected.
Yeah, and that's really knowing the market. If you're in a hot market and your houses are selling, like on East York, you're selling there in 22 days, and you want to move to, you know, Aurora, a little pocket up there, and you know that the days on market is much longer and the buyer activity is a lot lower. I mean, you're going to play to your strengths there a little bit and get that extra protection. You know,
yeah.
and see if it flies.
Yeah, you probably could get a couple weeks. Yeah, to get it done. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is to keep in mind when you buy a home conditional on the sale of your home, you do lose a little bit of your negotiating power. I mean, let's face it, if you walk in with an offer, no conditions, all cash, here we go, you pick the closing date, you're going to have a little bit more flexibility, potentially. Not all sellers, there's some tough ones out there, but you're going to probably have a little more flexibility on price. When you get into the condition offers, put on your seller hat for a minute and think, what does a seller think when they get the condition? Well, the seller says, well, my house comes off the market a little bit, not completely, because we can still show it and we can still actually negotiate an offer. Another conversation, but really your kind of first right of refusal goes to this buyer. So sellers don't love it unless maybe they're looking at a price that they gamble a few weeks on. You know, for 3 weeks, I'll take it off the market. If that's my price, I'm good to go, right? So things to think about. You got to figure out what's most important to you. And really, again, like, I mean, for some of our clients, I think selling first is probably going to be the easier way because they're going into neighborhoods where there's lots to choose from. And yet first, we've got a few clients, like we said, they're looking for that custom design, and that's one community. Well, then you're going to have to wait till you find it and then be ready to go.
And there's, you know, I mean, depending, everybody's case is different, but the more flexible that you can be, I mean, there are alternatives that we have found in the past for people, whether that means putting them in an Airbnb for a while we continue the house hunt, or short-term, you know, a different short-term rental, putting them into a 6-month lease while they continue the search. Maybe they have another property they're staying at. Like,
yeah,
if you have that sort of flexibility, you can find yourself in a, you know, more comfortable position with a little less stress. But not everybody has that, but it's something to consider. What are my options?
If you're a buyer, like, so we've had over the last few years, what was quite common was our sellers were selling their homes but staying in the home after closing, and we were doing this 2 to 3 month rent back, and that was just enough time for them to, I'll tell you, it was enough time for them to know the money is now in my bank. Now I feel comfortable making the next offer, because we've had for the last few years, not we, across the GTA, there's been some noise about people unable to close, right? And then the COVID thing, we've got layoffs, we've got bank and mortgage changes, which Raki shared with us last week, which was amazing. So all of these things, so in the US, do you know when they sell a house, they actually close if you close 90 to 95% of the time, you are a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
In Canada, when we write a contract, we're done. We close. We're used to that. But in the last couple of years, some people couldn't. So I love the rent back when it's an option, except, if you've got a young family buying your house, they want to move in. And they don't want to, they may not even be able to rent it back, right?
Yeah.
Just a nice alternative, though. Something, like you said, something to think about. Sometimes you have to get creative.
Well, so this is the message out there for anyone who's thinking about buying and selling. I know sometimes what happens is people go, yeah, I want to buy. They get excited. They drive around the neighborhood. They even get excited about a house. They come back home and now it's like, okay, now we got to figure it all out. How are we going to sell our house? And then it all gets very scary. And what sometimes happens is the people go, it's too scary, and they hide. We can't find you. But what we want to do is be able to say, let us see if we can find a solution. We're not saying there's one for everyone. There isn't. Some people cannot do it right now. Some people whose incomes went down will not refinance in a new place. We're very cognizant of that. We don't want to just sell your house and then say, oh, sorry, we didn't know. You weren't going to qualify for the next one. So it's why we do these calls, and give us a call. Let us go through your specific thing. There's no cost, there's no obligation, but at least at that point, if you decide you're going to do it, it's not as scary and it's not as risky. So,
yeah.
My plug.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's it. Because we've honestly sat at tables and we've gone through a bunch of different scenarios and different plans. Because like you said, sometimes you got to get creative, and it's not a one shoe fits all. And there's definitely a variety of ideas that can accommodate every individual's specific plan.
And we've seen a lot of them. We've seen so many different things happen. Good stories.
Mm-hmm. And if it's not the right time, we've sat at a lot of tables where we've exhausted every option, and it's like, okay, well, you know what, this probably isn't the time.
Yeah.
And
they have that clarity.
Doesn't mean, they get the clarity and the peace of mind, and they know, okay, we really explored all of our options here. And then 2 years from now, it's a phone call. Hey guys, do you want to take another look at this? Or a year from now, or whatever it may be, right? And we're still there. How many times do we sit at tables?
If it doesn't work now, we can certainly help people understand what they need to do, either with their finances or other investments or whatever it is. Much like Raki did with the mortgage, right? If you can't do it now, we can at least probably help you as to what can you do to get closer to it. What are things you can do?
Totally.
So if you're buying and selling and don't know what to do first, we're the Mulholland Boss Group at realestatetoronto.com, and we would happily help you figure that one out.
How can we be reached?
We are at 416-230-8500. And again, realestatetoronto.com. But yeah, call any of us on the team. We're all happy to help get you the information. No one wants to put any buyer and seller in an uncomfortable or scary position. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too much at stake.
Yeah.
So until
Great.
next week, guys. Oh, sorry. One more question here. Sorry, one question. Maybe Jordan, this is for you. If you were selling a condo downtown to move uptown, would you be confident that the condo would sell fairly quickly if you were pricing it comparative to very recent sales?
I think so. I definitely think, especially the more entry-level price point, like someone that's selling their condo to do the move up, that's what more people are looking for right now in terms of those first-time buyers. That's what they can afford. So definitely, I think, condos and kind of entry-level price points that are priced correctly are getting the activity on them, and some of which are seeing multiple offers. So I think, especially that move up, from downtown specifically, depending on where, obviously, and what it is and how it shows, But yeah, I would feel fairly confident in that scenario.
I also feel like condos tend to have quicker closings than detached.
Just
I see
depends.
that a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah, something to keep in mind.
Okay, if you have any questions about going from one area to the next area, or from a condo to a detached or detached to a condo, any of those things, let us know and we'll do our best to find you the best solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yeah. See you
And,
next week.